Welcome to Laser Source Podcast, number one podcast. If you want to unplug it like Matt unplugged his mom. Dark. New background, Anthony. What up, dude? That's pretty sick.
How's it? Yeah.
Is that generated?
Yeah. I just
AI?
typed, as I was waiting for you guys, I typed in epic laser space battle, and this is what popped up. So, yeah.
Dude, when I was a kid, I had like a book that I'm never going to be able to tell you or remember like what it was.
It's a great story.
It was a book, and all it was like a bunch of like 70s and 80s like fantasy sci-fi illustrations.
Nice.
So like you'd like open it up to the middle and there'd be like a huge city and like a dome and like a crater, and it was animated very much like the style of like the artwork that you have behind you, you know, like these super detailed like paintings and shit.
Was it a picture book?
No, it was like an adult, like
You read adult novels as a kid?
what's the name of that?
Daniel Steele.
What's the name of the 3D? Like the Boxcar Children. What's the name
The
of
Boxcar
the
Children? How to Make the Boxcar Children with Alex. What the fuck?
What's the name of that laser marking system that is for 3D that has its own like controller and scan head?
Galvatrix.
No, that isn't Easy Cat 3. What am I thinking of? I think it's completely separate.
This is where you need Kyle. He remembers this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I know, but I asked Kyle if he was in for the podcast tonight, and he sent me a SpongeBob gif of a fish in a full body cast falling downstairs.
So is that like a yes?
So you're saying there's a chance.
I said, is that you falling into the studio?
Falling into the studio.
Chris
like,
Lazicki
whoa.
says this episode is sponsored by carbonated beverages sold to you by Johnson Plastics Plus, number one place online to get laser blanks. I've got a brand new episode coming out that I've been working on. So first of all, I've been off for like a week, just to give you guys a heads up right now. So since the last time we've talked, I've done very little work because we decided while Chris and Rhiannon were out of town to just potty train Nugget. So we just like diaper off, cold turkeyed her on the potty, and she's killing it. She's doing really, really, really good. But that has been like very much my focus over the last week.
So basically, the target.
So I haven't gotten a lot of.
Yes. Yeah, makes sense.
Right. You put the cold turkey in the toilet, and then that's what she's aiming for.
And you shake it all up. Yeah.
Shake what up? No shaking.
Never
Ew.
mind. Coconut. Never mind.
So again, I think I mentioned this last week, but I'm working on the Johnson Plastics Plus Color Shop Woods episode, which is cool. I'm having a hard time organizing the footage because unlike the slate where I had those nice detailed lists on like the big slate board with all the like machines that I did them on and stuff, and the leatherette where the machines are clearly in the shots. This episode, I've got like nothing to go on. I am having a really hard time remembering like what exactly I was doing in each of the shots. So I'm really slowly working my way through a huge folder of footage, like trying to Sherlock Holmes my way backwards through what I did to make sure that I give a complete picture. And some of it I just am not going to be able to figure out. And Rhiannon and I are going to have to just make sure that we recreate it like with something legitimate, like some legitimate settings or something, so that we're actually giving proper guidance. But Mike C wants to know, is Matt high?
Nope.
On life.
Yeah.
Not even high on life.
Or there's a gas leak in the garage. I don't know.
Believe it or not, no drugs, no alcohol here, friend.
Yeah. And Laura says no more diapers is good. They are expensive. Yeah, they are. Big time. Cutting one of our kids out of the diaper budget is like cutting our grocery bill in half. So that's pretty nice because they are super expensive. Laura has a question for us. First, where is Kyle? And please don't say explosive diarrhea. Second, has anyone engraved an ammo can? Believe it or not, Laura, go ahead, Matt. You tell her.
I was gonna say he actually has implosive diarrhea. It's really serious. Instead of it
implosive
exploding
diarrhea.
out the rear end, he's actually inwardly vomiting excrement. And you, as a medical professional, Laura, know the seriousness of that. So hearts and thoughts and prayers out to Kyle.
Yeah, basically the diarrhea is just becoming denser and denser and denser. And at some point, it will form a small black hole inside of him. Yeah, and start sucking in the surrounding environment before evaporating away.
Gonna hit critical ass.
Oh my God! Look, speaking of critical ass,
you guys are idiots.
Oh my God, he's alive! Look at him.
Have you been listening? Did you hear about our?
Yes, I could. I was trying to fix.
Oh yes, he was listening.
Everything is for me. Everything is moving. Just normally, I would say a little bit slower, but it's a lot a bit slower.
Are we talking about your bowels or your body?
My body. I threw my back out, and then in the process of my back healing, I ended up with a really severe pinched nerve, and it's coming with a lot of problems. So. I'm just slowly recovering.
That to you. Yeah.
Did you throw your back out because you tried to move your own shit into your house?
No. I woke up like that. Literally, it had nothing to do with.
No, you just old
stuff. Yeah, just old man over here.
Kyle. Since you're here, dude, what's the name of the scanning marker infrastructure that isn't EasyCAD 3? The other company.
Scanning marking infrastructure.
The 3D, the 3D kind of like
set. Okay, so what I was missing there was 3D. So you're looking for a 3D Galvo head that is in the EasyCAD.
Yeah, who made the other one?
2 seconds.
It's not Marking Mate, which is the one that Mactron uses. It's the other one. Field Tech. Oh, Smoke Show dropped it in chat. It's Field Tech.
I was about to say that, but I didn't know they had their own software. I thought it was just the hardware.
Yeah, dude, they have Field Tech.
So I went the other way.
You have to run your own controller.
I was looking up the software because it was Lenmark 3D is their software.
It's Lenmark is the software, and it has its own controller, Anthony. So you can't use like EasyCAD 3 with it. You have to use the Field Tech controller.
Gotcha.
I was going to make a recommendation.
I
doubt he's watching right now, but there's a dude in Fiber Chat on the Discord right now talking about like, I was thinking about upgrading to EasyCAD 3 for the extra features. And it was like,
I mean, it's valid. There are extra features, but it's those turn from features into barriers if you're not actually using them.
That's like saying I have implosive diarrhea.
Yeah, for real. I was going to recommend to him to check out the Field Tech setup. If you're going to rip your controller out of your machine, don't put an EasyCAD 3 board in it. And if you're going to lose access to Lightburn, don't put an EasyCAD controller into it. Lenmark seems really comprehensive and solid, and the Field Tech scan heads review really well. So I'm going to make that suggestion later. But it's been eating away at me because I was reading the chat before the show. And I wanted to drop that before we started, and I didn't have time. So I'm glad that Alex closed the windows. Our neighbors are making a face. Dude, I shut that window a long time ago. We are solid. So yeah, great. Mystery solved. What's up, everybody? Welcome again to the show. If I didn't already welcome you, I didn't have time to do the chat scroll, but I see all our regulars here. You can tell, guys, that the diehards are here today because this is the turnout with zero announcement about the podcast in any way whatsoever.
They know. That's because they know.
They know. Yeah, these are the people that actually really deeply care. And so I want you guys to know, if you're here live right now, that I really deeply care about you too. And if you have any questions, make sure you drop them in chat. We'll start them as we go. What you doing, Matt?
Making stuff.
I see that. Is this a job, or you just?
Yeah, I've got can you guys hear it or no?
Yeah.
Not enough to be pissing me off. Just enough. It's there.
Yeah, I got you.
It
I
exists.
mean, it's one of those things. Like I can totally mute myself while you guys talk over the show. But yeah, so I've got to order for these nameplates, like we were talking about last week. The manager ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 20 of these guys. And that's what we were just talking about before the show. Anthony and I were saying like $100 is $100. And the nice thing is, if I share my screen, this is where let's see. And so, by the way, like what I'll do for those of you who have never done like these nameplates before is I'll just take that and put it off to the side. Later on, I'll take some 3-in-1 oil, like in a little tiny cup with a little toothbrush, and you just give it a little brush, and then you hit it with the microfiber towel or like the cloth, like Alex said. What's the dishcloth?
Shit.
Nope, that's not the one.
They are polyester napkins.
There you
Polyester
go.
rags.
If I had a couple more of those, I need to order another box of those.
Yeah, they're
but those
super
are the nicest
inexpensive.
for these. They're really good because the jaggedness of the deep, like this is basically an altered brass black. So just saying for like the brass nameplates, like it's really good. And then that it's really quick, it's really easy, and each one of these is $5. So that like 70 seconds of that was $5, $6 in my pocket. And then to show you guys what this looks like batching it out, let's see, share my screen real quick. Here you go. We can show this. If one of you guys wants to press the button.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on YouTube looking up a video
Oh, you're good.
to share it with chat. What am I sharing? Oh, the screen. Boom.
Yeah. So just like how I batch these out, like basically this is what I'm working on right now. So there's one club, and then these are the orders over here. This one's going to be ridiculous. So I'm just going to put assistant GM golf, like director of golf. Like, how's that going on a tag? That's insane. So basically they've kind of given me like bar service and events director. Yeah. Like, I don't know how that's going to work out. So we've already talked about that, like the person who owns the place versus the managers. So they send me these things and it's like, okay. So I kind of have some like leeway to do these, but basically for this, I did like pretty much like a trace of the, actually I just made a rectangle and I did like the circle, the rounded edges. And then what I did was I put this here centered vertically and spaced out so that basically the names and the titles all come down here. And this is always in the same place. And so from the space that's remaining, this is centered to like the distance from here, from this edge to this edge is the same from this edge of the like symbol for them, their logo.
Yeah.
To that. So basically, if you're wondering like what all that is. And so the nice thing is when you go to frame these, all you do is just turn on frame for orange. And basically that'll outline the whole shebang. You know you're in the right spot. You go turn that off and you kind of see, does this look pretty good? And you're ready to go. And the nice thing is when it's time to switch over to this guy, you can take this and you can do this. And basically like you make sure that they're all grouped up together, right? So that's that one. That's that one. And then this saves you a lot of time when you come here and then hit control and drag over. And so then when you go to hit center, it'll jump it to that spot.
Right.
And then the nice thing is you just find one piece of this one. And when you hit delete, everything's already lined up, ready to go to the next.
You don't have to move your part at all.
Yeah. So basically no part movement, no nothing. And it's just like, okay, on to the next one. So that's a pretty nice thing. And then what I do is I never alter this file. So like this is my saved file. Like I've got my saved one and I just change the date up here to that. And so you've got your one file that will never get messed up and it's got all the settings and all that stuff. And that's been pretty good for just making crap go quick.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does this. I thought
yeah.
it was
And
crazy.
so it's extra work to start, but at the same time, the nice thing is everything is centered, everything is square, everything is good. And it just like when I get an order like this, the guy can order them. He ordered them last week. I said, hey, it'll take 10 days. I've had other stuff I've been working on. And then now I'm on day 7, I think. So this I can do tonight, get them in a box tomorrow. There's no rush to ship them out by Friday. And I'm still, in my gold zone, So that's pretty much it. So that's what I'm working on now. I've got some glasses that I still need to get done too, but those aren't until like a month from now. And then I just got a request today when I was out and about in town. Actually, I took my kids to a little local shop that's a real cool place, and one of the owners was asking me if I could do basically like the boxes video that I did with Evelyn way back when. They want a box for the shop, like they want some stuff. That's it. So yep, that's pretty much it. So that's what I'm working on, and I figured I'd just do this. And like some people like to see this kind of stuff. Like I know Laura said she always likes watching the laser go while we're talking. So there you go.
Yep. If you're listening to the audio version of this, go find the video version on YouTube and look at all the stuff Matt just talked about.
Yeah, you can see the brass action.
Matt, I sent you a link on Discord. Do you mind pulling that up really quick?
Yeah.
It's just to the channel.
We're gonna reach critical brass.
I just got done doing like 25 of those for a bar, Moose Lodge.
Nice.
Yeah. Almost the same exact size.
Laura was asking about ammo cans in chat, and we have this. So if you want to watch this, and I already dropped the link in chat, but I'll make sure one finds its way into the description as well. It's pretty straightforward. I do half of it with the CO2, which works really well, and then I do the other half of it with the fiber actually, and we do a like raster photo, which in hindsight, oh yeah, it gassed me out. That paint was nasty.
Yeah,
it really is.
In hindsight, I probably could have done the raster much better because this was before the Ultimate Photo Engraving Guide came out. So I was actually still doing photos wrong at the time, and it still came out well. So I think we could have even done much better than this if we had the resources that Laser Everything has out now. But it was fairly straightforward. Check out that tractor. Come on, that's sick, right?
Yeah, it turned out good.
It doesn't look like ass.
Yep. So if you want a reference point, of course, this was done on the old Mactron, so it's a 30-watt JPT LP source on the fiber there. The OhmTech had a 90-watt tube in it at the time, I believe. So, it's probably not going to be the most common of equipment that you're going to find now, but it's a good jumping off point if you need something to, wow, dude, look how old that looks now. That's so crazy. But it should be a decent jumping off point if you are looking to do ammo cans.
Yeah,
so,
and
again,
it looks like that's a steel anneal general that you used back then.
Yeah, and it comes out nice. It looks really good. Obviously, you have those kind of like dark areas, but the
that looks solid.
Yeah, the melamine sponge just takes that right off. It's just like carbon from the leftovers, and it looks really good. So you should be able to use this as a guide to get started.
A quick thing, I tried using a CO2 Galvo to do one, and there's basically you need to hit it with a couple of different. If you do that, I don't have those like readily available, but you have to hit it with a couple of different frequencies. So like one just tears through the paint, and you will have lots of lines left over. It's to me though, the amount of smoke and the disgustingness that came with this, I think that the CO2, like your actual CO2 tank, is the best way to go. So just saying.
I just for like the exhaust purposes, like just to have it enclosed.
It's a lot, man. It's thick.
Yeah,
gross.
It's a lot. I would get it like if you're gonna do it on a like an open laser, I would do it with like a 3M respirator. Is what I should have done. I made that face afterwards.
Can I just say that you look so much like a preacher? I just want to hold y'all's hands and I want to pray with you, sweet baby Jesus, with your tuxedo t-shirt.
That was pre-kids. That was pre-babies, infants in the household.
Yeah. Okay, back to us. Bow.
Yeah, no worries. I did see something I wanted to comment on. Laura was asking if she'd be better off with the fiber. Is that what you were talking about there, Matt?
Yeah, and that's where I saw her question. And so to me, I mean, you could totally do it, but you're going to just be ready to have your exhaust like right there. Maybe have like a fan, like a small little USB powered fan or something. Because I mean, I don't know if Anthony or Kyle have messed with those, but the open tower experience was very open. Like, it was rough.
I've done it and I don't mind it on my fiber. And I just used the same steel engrave and anneal and all that. But
just good exhaust.
Good exhaust goes a long way.
Oh,
So
sure.
at that time in Alex's shop, he was also using the axial fans from.
I did not have a centrifugal fan yet.
Yeah, that makes an enormous difference depending on, like, maybe his shop door was closed that day and he didn't have enough air coming in or something. So
I definitely know so much more now. I feel like it would go a lot better if I was to do that again.
Yeah. So I mean, if your exhaust is on point, it might not be as big of a problem. But if you're on edge at all on your exhaust, having the enclosure to at least give your exhaust more time to evacuate it and maybe give it a couple of minutes before you pop that bastard open, it's going to save your sinuses and your lungs a little bit of grief. I mean, there's bad stuff in everything we burn, right? So exhaust is just as important as eye care, but with something like that, I mean, it can be pretty brutal. And obviously, depending on where you're getting your cans from, the coating could be something completely different than what we worked with. But
it's not just that it's toxic, it's also, on top of that, it is like very like acrid, and that is like, that just makes it worse because you're poisoning yourself as usual, but also it feels and
you're going to
smells
suffer
really bad
through it
while you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's extra gross.
It's like those things, like the first time you ever burn like really disgusting leather and your exhaust sucks, like it sticks with you for a while, and then like your appetite's gone for a day or two, and everything just feels off. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yep.
So
for sure. I'm doing something on the back end real quick, so I'm not looking at chat. Just a heads up. Oh, Kyle, I was going to ask if you could grab those SKUs from that comment, because I'm really curious what Nancy purchased. Do you see it? I started.
Yeah, I'm pulling them up.
Nice.
Does JP Plus sell those metal solo cups?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The pint glasses, they call them. Yep.
Bronson had asked me about those previously, and I have been sick and dealing with some other stuff, and I forgot to get back to him. So maybe check them out, Bronson. And what's the discount code, Matt?
Like
YLRCDF. There you go.
Yeah.
I know it now.
Yeah, they're cheap too, but even
they're
without
like
the
$3
discount code.
a piece, and then with I think they were $3.50 the other day, and then like with the was it 15% off, right?
Yep.
It turns into like whatever that is, so $3.50, 35 cents, about 50 cents off, I guess.
Do they have like orange? Because I think that's what he was looking for.
I don't
orange.
Think I saw orange. Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly,
the orange solo cup ones.
Yeah.
I thought they had them at one point. It could be
not a very common color.
Yeah, they may not carry it anymore, or it might be a situation where it's like now a special order thing because they didn't get enough demand on it.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna look now. The thing I really do like about those is that you can whip through them, dude.
Yep.
Oh, let's see. Oh, orange. They do have orange. Yeah, absolutely. Boom. So you've got red, burgundy, pink, orange, seafoam, blue, white, black, and stainless. It's quite a little collection of colors there. But you do get the orange.
Sweet.
Is Bronson
so if you're still here, Bronson.
Hi, Bronson.
He has been here. I don't know if he still is. He's got classes and stuff, I think, this time of night.
Imagine, nerd. But yeah, dude, you can rip through those at like 4,000 speed just because there's so little on them. Yeah, they're pretty fast. And they mark up well too. Low overhead. And if you bite it on one, you're only out like $250 instead of fucking $30 or whatever. So that's nice too.
Yeah. CO2 Galvo chews
sure.
through those things so quick.
So quick.
So quick. Okay.
Nancy's. So Kyle's pulling up some listings that Nancy purchased. Looks like, just based off the description, vintage silver to black Romark, anodized aluminum, satin silver, an aluminum black IPI.
I can share my screen.
Okay. And then she's saying she's brand new to CO2. Any setting you can recommend to start. I have a 90-watt Momport CO2. It's super confusing because I'm used to diodes. Well, the first thing, and I'm 99% sure that Kyle has an episode on this. The first thing you have to do is your scanning offset adjustment. If you haven't already done that, it shows up very clearly on this material when you haven't done that yet. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure Kyle can pull up another tab and pull that video up. But scanning offset adjustment basically takes your two scan lines and like pulls them in so that they're like in line with each other. It's a little difficult to explain. It's much easier to show on the screen, but that is just like so obnoxious when it's off and you're working with this kind of material. So
basically what happens when your scanning offset is off, this is an example photo from Johnson Plastics, but I'm just using it as an example here. But imagine you're scanning left to right and right to left to make this text. And what ends up happening is those vertical lines where, let's use the R in restrooms as an example. You have a left aligned vertical stop and start point on the left side. And if your start and end times aren't tuned, what ends up happening is as you scan from left to right and right to left, you end up with this like jagged zigzag as a line that should be perfectly vertical, which is a lot of the time why you'll see less tuned or lower end machines are stuck on or have bidirectional scan disabled, or if the gantry just doesn't have the tension to deal with it or rigidity. But that's what it's for. So when you tune that in, it's going to both increase your ability to produce at speed, but also it's going to significantly increase your quality. Mm-hmm. It's a direct correlation to tuning for quality. Most people don't do it for speed, other than the aspect of it unlocks your ability to do bidirectional in quality, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you think bi is better?
Sure.
I do.
Yeah, I think going lots of different ways is really important because it lets you get up in there.
The more options, the better.
Yeah, because like sometimes going left to right's it gets old, and so having like going back and forth, a little motion in the ocean really helps get the clarity that you're looking for on stuff like that.
You're fired. I did, Nancy. I did drop a link in chat for you to our video on the topic, which Kyle hosts. And he actually includes a lot of very, very good visual examples of how it looks before and after the work is done, as well as every step to completing the adjustment. So if you're looking for a guide,
included.
Yep. If you're looking for a guide, boom, there you go. It's short and it's sweet, and Kyle is thorough and efficient. So that should get you where you need to go. That said, just as far as like regular settings go, you'll be tempted to go deep in this, but you really don't have to. My recommendation would be to use Lightburn's settings finder feature and do a nice grid and just pick the one that uses the absolute least amount of power, but still does doesn't leave any of the material behind. You'll probably be around 300 speed, and I would say maybe like 30 to 40% power. But that may need to take some adjusting. So you'll have to experiment with it a little bit, but that will probably be around where you end up.
We have a video on test grids too.
We do.
So
Indeed.
the other thing is you don't have to go crazy with like going from 10 to 100% power and from 1 to a billion speed. If you have like a good starting point in terms of like a reference from the library, right? Like Alex has, I think he has laser max settings in the shared library.
We do.
You can use that as a starting point even, and then because this is like you have 3 different varieties of plastic here, you can essentially vary up or down like 10% or 20% in either direction, so that way you're kind of not going so overboard that you're lighting a fire on your bed, but enough where like you're giving yourself the room to feel out if there's a better setting combination.
Yeah, you don't have to shoot for such a wide range. Essentially, you're just kind of testing the waters a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right to see if there's potential for it to improve or not, which can be really helpful. And to get you started in the right direction on that, I just posted another link to another video. Guys, we have so many videos on the channel. Directly to Kyle's
like 9 or 10 now, right?
Yeah, the 100, 9 or 1000. Yeah,
100.
This episode is again hosted by Kyle. It's all about test grids, everything you need to know. In fact, I think it maybe not this test grids episode, but the other one was definitely part of Kyle's CO2 gantry crash course, for which there are not that many episodes, but the episodes he did produce for that are very, very important and super good. So if you haven't already watched Kyle's CO2 gantry crash course, then you should just start that playlist from the beginning and watch through it. I think it's probably like an hour altogether max to get through the entire thing, and that will make you feel so much more confident, just if you're like brand new and just getting started. So
yeah, I do have some more crash course for gantry content. Well, I have more crash course in general content planned, but it's gonna really help once I move the equipment over to the new space and get set up, because I will have far more room to accurately depict the concepts I'm trying to educate on. So there will be a lot more of that coming soon as well.
Nice. And Nancy's got a follow-up question. Can you explain why after running a material test for cutting, the squares dropped at 13 speed, 35 power, but when I try to cut out a name tag, it won't cut at 12 at 35? Makes no sense. That's because the area that you're cutting is much larger on the name tag. So the material has 2 things: a lot more time to cool as the laser is moving around the object, and also it has much more of an ability to like wick the heat away from the engraving area. So if you are noticing that you have to slow things way down for larger stuff, just know that's not uncommon. It's actually extremely common. And whenever I have to do like a big piece, you really want to take some time to make sure that your settings literally scale larger. This is also what the min power and max power is for. As you go around corners, your laser doesn't need quite as much power. So if you find that it's burning as you move around corners, it's because your laser is spending more time per unit as it moves around the corner. So you set through your minimum power so that it will go a little bit easier on the corners. Am I explaining that right, Kyle?
Yeah. So essentially,
like burnage.
Just to kind of add to what Alex is saying too, with DSP controllers, right? We're kind of paying for advanced features, and one of those advanced features is we have the ability to have variable speed control for min power and max power. And what Alex is saying is, if you're cutting out a little tiny square, the idea is that the laser is going to accelerate from the start point through to near the end point and then decelerate. And it needs to slow down. It can't go just from an abrupt stop and change directions and continue that momentum and speed. Mm-hmm. Even the higher end machines don't do that. They do have some rebound where they need to slow down so that they can accelerate in another direction. And that's where min speed comes in. So when it's not actively accelerating or decelerating and it's at speed, that's your max power value. But when it's decelerating or excelling, that's where it's variabling in between the min and max value, and that's where your tuning is. So the problem you're running into is probably that the test squares are so small that you're not actually getting up to speed, and you're still accelerating or decelerating either direction you're going, because the test blocks are, if you're doing test grids, they're probably 5 or 10 millimeters, right? So if you're cutting out a bigger square, it's actually getting up to speed and getting up to a higher speed than you're expecting it to, because during the testing, it just never reached its full potential, I guess.
That's true. I wasn't even thinking about it that way, but now that you're saying it, Nancy's saying at 13 speed, you probably never even did 13 millimeters a second on those test squares. You never hit that speed, so you wouldn't know. Yeah, you wouldn't know what the result actually is at that speed with that power, because you never actually achieved that maximum speed while working your way around the square.
Yeah, and it's going to depend on the test grid size, right? So if you had a 5 millimeter square at 15 millimeters a second, that's in theory a third of a second of movement time. It's kind of like the math.
That's
problems.
Why we keep Kyle around. This is why Kyle does the gantry crash course, because
you're so knows stuff so good.
But factor in the fact that part of that time is also accelerating and decelerating. So
I got it.
Anyways, I think you get the point. But when you're doing a test cut, that'll get you into the ballpark, but just keep in mind that you may have to reduce it more than you expect in order to beat that up. It's going to have bigger consequences
for failures
at higher speeds.
Yeah, and I do like what Chris and the bearded laserman are saying. Do circles to prevent that 90-degree stoppage. So kind of the 90 stops, not 90-degree stoppage. Sorry. It will make things faster, and on top of that, you also get a little more precision, especially if you're doing test cuts. Like when you're running circles versus squares, you do have that gantry issue sometimes where things aren't aligned really great with your X and your Y. So just something, it's not a bad idea. Good thought, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, I like doing circles for that kind of stuff too, particularly for tuning. The downside to that is that you still should probably tune for corners with min and max power anyway.
I'll corner you.
Yeah, that's great until a customer wants something with right angles.
Yeah.
Right?
That's where I'll say what's right to you might be wrong to me, and then just high five them and they get it. And I think that's how that works.
Yeah, it works really well. I actually used that today on a government customer that we have that I'm not going to get into details about, but today alone, and I've been working with this customer for 3 weeks. Today alone, I shipped like 4 separate variations of the artwork for their design, and they just kept sending it back. And I'm changing fonts by like tenths of a millimeter at a time, and it just wanted to be like, come get your plate.
It's actually a good thing to talk about real quick, because like switching gears, literally, I had a lady today who was like two customers in 2 days were like, what's your setup fee? What's your hourly rate for like design fee? And I just had to make up something on the spot. And I said, well, for me, it's $30 an hour to like help you design something as long as you've got like a general start. Otherwise, I'm at $50 an hour. And the lady didn't even bat an eye, by the way. And then, like I said, if I have to come up with it from scratch or find things on the internet,
that's actually pretty low if you were to compare to like a graphic designer who charges by the hour.
Oh yeah, but I definitely made
that's
it clear
so cheap by comparison.
Yeah, and I made it clear I'm not a graphic designer. Then another lady was like, "Hey, how much would it cost you to design and create and like do?" She wants like stuff that she can basically like displays that she can break down quickly, and they're a little more resilient than what she currently has. She has stuff that she bought off Amazon, but it's like made out of 1/8 material. And I told her, I was like, yeah, 1/4 inch or 3/16 would be really, really good for like, like acrylic would be great because you basically can kind of toss it around, beat it up.
More robust.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll still have the
polish it
to be
if it
able
gets
to
a little
kind of,
stuffed.
yeah, and exactly. And use like a little rubber mallet or something to kind of tap things in there and get them just right. But long story short,
we call it the butt factor.
I think so. And so you got to gas it. And it's one of those things where basically I just told her, I said, I'd probably charge you $30, but she's like, well, I don't mind paying because, I mean, literally that's just probably me going to be going on to what's the website that we used, Kyle, way back when, boxes.py.
PY.
Boxes.py, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to use that.
Which is not the website.
No, that's the tool
just
name.
the name of the service.
If you Google it, it'll bring up the actual website.
But don't try to type that into the web browser. It won't work.
No.
So anyways, long story short, you can check out that video actually that me and Evelyn made a long time ago, and Kyle has a great one on that one. Alex did a good one. I think all of us have done one except Anthony because he was like, F your guys' boxes. Which is,
I still haven't done the assembly for that. I have the footage. It's just sitting there, and I built it, and I've been using it for like months now, and it's super good. But I just didn't know if anybody cared to see me finish it, or if they just wanted to see it cut.
Yeah, and that's where 90 degrees would really matter. Like those things need to be like flush to. I mean, and when you do, they are so sturdy. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that as far as pricing goes? Like. Because we're not graphic designers, but like Alex, are you charging this person? Anthony, how do you do that?
No, I totally fucked this up. I way undercharged. I gave them a flat rate quote and
oh Jesus Christ,
just backed myself into a corner, and now I have to do it. So don't do that.
You should just give them Rhiannon's number from now on. Like, hey, I know you're out of town.
Oh,
you got somebody calling you.
Believe me, I do. that's definitely.
Rhiannon's like, that'll be $100 a piece. Like,
Rhiannon will be like, the phone's ringing, and I'm like, that sucks for you.
Whoops.
Nice.
Yep.
You know what though? Rhiannon is a very personable person, and she's okay with social interaction. So, thank God for her.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think if she was here, she would disagree. Anthony, the fact that she's not here should kind of
be strangling you by your beard hair.
As far as I haven't really been in a position where I've had to like put my foot down and tell somebody that I'm going to charge them. Like most of the time they come in, I'll sit down with them, do like a real quick thing. The more particular people have always like provided artwork for me, and I've just more or less straight up done that. So
better knock on some wood there, buddy.
Yeah, I think
I
was more like not frustrated, but basically they really were like, what do you mean you don't have one? And I said, well, I mean, I do, but like, I'm not sure, like, because I don't really have one. And so the lady goes, well, you got to have one. And I said, okay, $30. And she was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I was like, okay. Like, what?
I think a huge part of my oversight, I think a huge part of my oversight was that I just completely disregarded the fact that this was a job for a government entity. And so every fucking letter of it needs to be approved by a committee. And I think that's really causing issues
all
in the pipeline.
Got fired, so you're good. It's just one guy now sitting in a tub.
Not in local government, my dude. Also, I saw this, and I just have to say something out loud, but that's how I do it. I just set min and max to the same, and I just go max power all the time. And
Well,
I
for,
don't feel
for a
any
lot of
shame about
materials,
it.
you can do that, and especially if you have a good air assist that's tuned
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, which I
Like,
do.
I found really early on that min and max power matters way more when you don't have a proper amount of air pressure pushing the crap out of the hole. And that's where a lot of the excess burning comes from.
Dude, here's when min and max really mattered for me was when I was cutting. A guy brought me polyester sheets. They were like lab grade sheets, like paper thin sheets.
Are
of
these
polyester.
the ones you ended up switching to the fiber to cut?
Yes, but when I was doing it on the CO2, that made a huge difference.
Min and max.
Yeah.
So the corners would just lighten up if you didn't lower them in, or what?
Yeah, they just get fire immediately. Yep,
makes sense.
You got a couple more questions.
Cool. What do you got next?
Mark says, Kyle, we spoke on a live quite a while ago about beam combiners and the gantry system. You had mentioned that you purchased a different style than Alex on the OhmTech. Did you ever do it? So I started the install and everything's kind of in place, but I never completed it.
What style? Refresh my memory. What did you get?
Okay.
That was
so the style.
So my normal one is the 45-degree angle, like unidirectional lens, where the red dot hits it and the CO2 hits it, and they both come out the other end, and you align it from the front. How is yours different than that?
Well, so you have three styles, right? You have one that goes between the tube and mirror one as its own thing. It sits on its own pedestal. Then you have the style that combines onto the first mirror and it replaces it.
Interesting. Yep.
Okay. I think that's the style that you had, right?
I had the standalone. I still do have the standalone.
Okay. So you have option one. So
I think
option
the Mira
has,
just because we're talking about it, I think the Mira has the first mirror combo one. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Not relevant. Sorry.
Option number 3 is there's a divider wall between the part of the cabinet where your tube is and the part of the cabinet where after it passes mirror 1 and goes to mirror 2 on the gantry. So there is a defined wall there that leads from front to back in the enclosure. And there is a basically a housing you can basically drill bolt holes or mounting holes into the wall, and you effectively have a slide mount, and you basically pulse your laser, it hits the spot, and then you align the red dot that way where it reflects through the beam combiner that's hanging essentially in between
complicated and frightening.
It is.
I don't like what I'm hearing.
No, it is essentially the same thing as what you have. The only difference is mine's hanging from a wall instead of on a pedestal.
For the record, I don't like what I have either. If I was going to dude, you know what? Like,
I way prefer mine because I don't have height problems.
Next time I buy a tube, I'm getting one of the
SPTs.
The SPTs, the TR series that have the red dot built into the tube. I don't give a shit. I'm so done. I'm so done aligning the red dot, dude. I'm never doing that again. I'm going to get, dude, it's the worst. I'm going to get the SPT TR. You know what, dude? I've owned a lot of different brands of laser tubes over the years, and I can't tell you a single fucking difference between them. Not one. And if I can have one with a built-in beam combiner, I'm doing it. Just forget it. Like, I'm out.
I'm sure there is some level of like quality difference between them, but
maybe, dude. I don't know. I'm real picky about a lot of things. I'm like super anal at work about a ton of shit, and that has just not been one of them. I mean, maybe I'll get it and I'll hate it, you know. But like,
I mean, it's one thing if it lasts like 3 months and dies on you, but like,
yeah, sure, that's a factor too.
But again, if it actually lasts a reasonable amount of time, I feel like,
yeah, hopefully the red dot will outlive the tube. The red dot should outlive the tube, just based on the lifespan of those two things in general. But where I am standing right now, looking into the future, like that's how I feel about it. And again, I might get it and hate it. It might be garbage, and I might never want to ever buy one again. And if that is the case, I'll make sure I let you guys know. But where I'm at right now, dude, from where I'm standing, I'm so over it, dude. That shit's out of alignment all the time. It just like, I don't know, it's just never good enough. And the last thing I need on a gantry system is another fucking thing to align. I'm so done with it.
Well, that's the thing, is as long as you're first, well, okay, so the benefit to yours is it should always be aligned to the tube because it's between the tube and the first mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The problem with mine is getting placed between mirror 1 and mirror 2.
Yeah.
So if I ever have to change the alignment of mirror 1, it's going to be affected. And then I have to realign it.
Nancy's like, where do I buy one? That should be a standard. You can check out the buying guide. I think it's buyingguide.makearmy.io.
If you go to lasereverything.net, there's a link up at the top.
There's a link, and that's an affiliate link, so it helps support the channel. Thanks in advance. If you can't find it there for some reason, forget the affiliate link. Just go to lightobject.com and buy one from Marco. Marco carries all that stuff over there. It ships from California, so you don't need to worry about it busting on like a cargo ship from China, which is nice, and it ships quick because it comes from within the U.S. And their SPT stock is amazing. There's a ton of stuff that they have available, again, like already in the country, ready to go. So that would be where that affiliate link would take you. If you don't mind using the affiliate link, we would appreciate that. But again, if you can't find it for whatever reason, I don't know how up to date the tubes section is on that. I'll take a look in a second here, actually. But it's super easy to get your hands on one of those. So it's not a difficult thing to find.
One thing that I learned from the videos that you did on those when you were out visiting Marco at Light Object, is that they test every single tube before it gets shipped out to a customer. So it avoids every potential like if it was damaged or if it's not up to par before it gets shipped, it just completely avoids the back and forth problems with that. The only issue you would ever have to deal with is if like UPS or FedEx or whoever's shipping it just decides to like stick their ass through the box while it's being shipped.
True.
Which, I mean, it doesn't matter at that point because there was no avoiding it anyway. That's their fault, not yours, and not Light Objects. So, but at least they're taking that, that percentage of risk out of the equation before they even waste your time with it. So, good on them for that.
I'm looking now, and of course, and the buying guide is offline, so I'll work on that. But lightobject.com is where you want to be.
Nancy said, "This is why I love you guys. You provide the info with the details and the resources." Thanks, Nancy. Chris says, the glue layer variations in my 1/8 inch Baltic birch plywood screw me over too. 35 millimeters a second, 65% power with my 120 watt. And I still get occasional spots that don't cut through. Yeah, voids in plywood can be a real bastard. Another thing too is make sure it's actually Baltic birch and not just birch plywood. So Baltic birch is very specifically plywood that comes from a different species of birch tree that is specific to like Russia and Ukraine and that region. Like North American birch unfortunately gets classified as Baltic birch sometimes, mostly from wood vendors that don't know the difference or don't care to tell you the difference because they can charge more for it because they're charging you basically conflict pricing for wood that they're not getting from a conflict area. But Baltic birch is significantly better because it doesn't typically have voids. Whereas North American birch, it has more knots. So when they shave it to create the ply layers, it creates little holes that they they either then have to backfill or they don't backfill if they're not a surface layer. And that's where you end up with cutting problematic stuff.
Yeah, I missed a little bit of that. I heard something about knotty shaving and like holes getting filled. I don't know, but like
We'll go with it.
Yeah, I do think he's right. By the way, and the other thing too is the grain on that stuff can differ, and some people who are really like picky about that kind of stuff will notice it. And like, I mean, I've never had anybody mention it, but they were like, "Oh, what kind of wood is this?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Baltic birch." And they're like, "Is it though?" And I was like, "I don't know." And they basically schooled me. They're like, "Well, actually, if you look at the vertical cross," and I was just like, "All right, man, cool. Did you want this still?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's okay." I was like, "Oh, great." Because like I don't, not to be mean, but like I don't know. It's not something for me. And so, but it is one of those things. Like Kyle said, it's definitely good to know about. So
I don't know if I'm just like snotty or what, but I don't know a single thing about plywood like at all. I do all of my cutting on hardwood.
Well, I'm a geek and I watch too many How's It Made videos, but
it's fair.
That's really the only reason I know the difference on that. But in terms of like project ability, you should be able to do the same stuff with both. It's literally just like sometimes you get a quality issue with voids if it happens to land where you're cutting, and there are some birch plies that just have so many damn voids in the middle that they don't use it for like thicker grades of material because it's not going to hold up to engineering standards. So like when you're looking at eighth inch or quarter inch or like the thinner grades, they're not looking at those for like weight distribution and holding and strength. Those are considered like you're building a box kind of thing. That they're not concerned about you falling through a floor if they have too many voids, you know what I mean? But that's the idea. But if I find, at least for me, if you have a really good even with a good like air supply and you're pumping good pressure and you have it all tuned, sometimes those voids will actually like burn and pop out even. Like they'll flare up from the inside, kind of like how like corrugated cardboard can act as like a flue for catching fire more. It'll kind of blow out the surface a little bit. As long as it doesn't blow out the surface and you're just dealing with an edge void, I just spackle the edge with like either paint or when I'm painting it, if I have to paint it, or I'll just put a little wood filler in just to give it some structure so it doesn't sink in when you grab it by the edge. And I haven't really had any complaints.
Structural versus architectural, which is
that's
a fair way to think about it.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, I saw somebody say, "Where can I get something like that?" or "How do I know the difference?" Whatever. I'll shout out the H&H Creations Tampa. They used to be H&H Creations Tampa, but they've been a really cool person to work with on our channel. H&H Creations. He knows all about that kind of stuff. Like he's very particular about the wood that he gets, and all of the MDF is very high quality. There's a video on that we did back in the day. Like if you want to look them up and who they are, Brian and his whole company, his wife.
When stuff doesn't meet grade, they don't sell it.
Yeah, they don't accept it.
Or they'll straight up say like, "Here, we're clearancing this because it's not good product, but if you want stuff to burn through, we'll give it to you for like $1 or whatever," kind of thing.
So definitely like look into who you buy it from. And then I saw somebody a minute ago said they buy from like a local supplier who knows the difference. Chris, it was Chris. That's one of those things when you talk to the people and they sound like Kyle, feel good. Feel good buying from them. If they sound like me and Alex, we're like, we only use hardwood. It's garbage.
It doesn't feel good when you walk into like a supplier and like you find out like 3 days after you bought it that they sold you birch when you paid for Baltic birch and the price difference is like 4x. Like, you feel like you got had. You feel like you just lost confidence in a supplier. So, and you know, it's your money at the end of the day, right? So,
That's it.
just something to keep factored on that.
Yep.
Let's see. So we can do this. What's another question we got? Because we're hitting an hour already. How's it been an hour? This has been a fast one tonight.
Yeah.
I feel like they get faster every week.
When we have
Garrett
a lot of
asked
people
toward the
asking good
beginning.
questions.
Garrett Scobie asked, "Will a MOPA make photos on stainless look any better than a 50-watt JPT?"
Oh, that's a good question.
It is. So if you want to be technical, your 50-watt JPT is a MOPA.
Ooh,
It's just not a pulse width
Got 'em.
unlocked MOPA.
got him.
So yeah, the 50 watt, the 30 watt, and the 20 watt JPT LPs are MOPA lasers. They're just not part of the M series, which is your pulse width unlocked ability. In terms of like just doing the same project on the same thing and you're not changing anything, they'll come out the same. You're not going to see a difference. Where you will get a difference is if you're actively trying to go for specific colors, for example. Like if you want to do a logo in 3 different colors, and then do like a multi-tone image of people that's cartoonized, like, yeah, you're going to have a way easier time with MOPA or an M series laser because you have your pulse width unlocked. It's just significantly easier to tune colors with it. It doesn't mean it's impossible to get colors with a non, what we would call a MOPA laser, but you're still capable of getting colors. And yeah, the use case for that, I guess it really depends. Would I like throw away a 50-watt JPT to get a MOPA just to do that? No.
But if you're just talking about like black and white, like all they want to do is like do a dark mark image on steel. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say if you spent a lot of time tuning your settings and messing around with the Q pulse and stuff, you might get a marginally better like image, like end result versus the 50-watt JPT LP, but I don't know if it's like worth paying money to upgrade to, if that's what they're asking. I mean, if you do want to do colors, then obviously the MOPA is the easiest route to that. But if you're just trying to do like a black and white mark or, grayscale, I guess you could call it, image on stainless, then I don't think it's probably the juice is worth the squeeze, personally. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So I mean, I guess it just depends on the context of the question. But I have a 50-watt JPT LP and I love it, and I get good results doing photos on it. I just did, if you check out the Discord under Coin Challenge, our monthly thing last month was 90s horror, and I did a Scream coin, and on the back side of it, I just like cut out a section of the original movie poster, and it was my first time ever trying a raster image on brass, and I just full send went, and it actually came out pretty remarkable, I think, for like my first time ever trying brass. And I mean, not to like, I'm just saying, like, I think the results were good, not like trying to pat myself on the back or anything. I probably got lucky, but yeah, I'd say it's more than qualified to do the job.
Yeah, I would back that up, especially on depending on what substrate. Like on acrylic, it looks really, really, really good. Like I've used the 50-watt on acrylic, and I'm trying to find. Do you remember that picture I made of Levi where it was like 10 millimeters and then 1 millimeter and then 0.1 millimeter, and it was literally like the size of a thing? And like you can look at it like with a microscope, and you can see the definition, and it's insane. So something that's a millimeter big, I think it's like 1 millimeter by like 1.6 millimeters. and you could still make out under the microscope what my kid looked like. Like,
yeah,
it looked like a smush face baby, but still, it was like, holy shit! Like, it's the size of a grain of rice, man.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. I wish I could find it to show you maybe next time. But like, it's just for bang for buck. I feel like the 50 is like the workhorse. 60 nowadays is like the same price I think I paid for my 50. So like, if you can get that extra mileage out of it, why not? I guess that's kind of my take, like Anthony was saying.
I think it's pretty rare that I would ever have somebody upgrade out of a source rather than buy another machine. The source is so much of the expense of the machine that it's like, why wouldn't you just have the second machine on hand? Unless you physically cannot jam it somewhere and you absolutely have to have one machine, like then maybe it might make sense. But like, you're paying the price of the source plus an extra $300 or $500 or whatever. I mean, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but not much more than that. If more than that, to have a whole other machine that could be running while you're running another machine, you know, I mean, like that's such a huge upgrade to like what you can get done in the same amount of time that I feel like I would have a really hard time ever telling somebody like, well, you should throw out your old source, get a new one. Like that's just such a weird recommendation in general to me, but that's just my opinion.
The only time I would see it being a worthwhile thing to swap the source is if you have a broken source, but all the rest of your parts are good, and it for whatever reason isn't covered by warranty for whatever's damaged.
Yep.
Like let's say you shove the thing against a wall and you accidentally sheared the fiber optic.
Yeah.
Like there's no repairing that without sending it back to the factory and paying an arm and a leg. They're just going to end up selling you a new one probably. And they're going to sell it to you at full price. If you end up going to like a, I don't know, like wave top sign, and you end up getting like an amazing deal on an upgraded source, and your existing source is broken, like that might be worthwhile because you're using the parts. I would still compare what you can get from like new instead of repairing, because it is a huge portion of the cost of a laser these days.
Especially if you find like one of these up and rising companies like Bing Yan or Ben Yang.
BY.
Yeah, just BY Laser is the easiest way to do it. But
it's Bing
Yan. If you find a company that is kind of like, because even like compared to some other companies, like their prices are kind of like radically lower. And I think people are getting 10-watt UVs from them for not much more, or maybe about even the same money I bought a 5-watt a year and a half ago for.
Yeah.
So like
part of that is prices have come down, but they haven't come down that radically. That's great pricing.
Somebody kind of went through this long explanation on the Discord about how like the way China's like their the way that their economics work over there, whatever you want to call it, like the government will subsidize these newer companies and give them certain amounts of money or whatever. And so like they basically use that money as savings to the end user to entice their brand to be bought. And then later on down the road, they can jack up their prices brand or whatever. But yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense.
It's kind of like the US government giving money to like the states, and then the state uses that money to give tax incentives for companies who create jobs locally.
The word we're looking for is subsidies.
Yeah.
Subsidies. Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Quick update, just because we're over time and I want to keep things rolling. We saw a couple coin challenge questions and I saw you answered in chat, Anthony. So the usual discord.gg/laser everything link doesn't work anymore because we don't have enough people boosting our Discord server, which is dumb. So they take that away from you. I posted a temporary link into chat. If you want to help out the channel and you need a new way to do it, and you have already signed up for the Laser Master Academy, go boost the Discord server. But neither here nor there. Check out the Coin Challenge channel. Anthony, what's the theme for this month?
We're doing we're kind of hard pressed, but it was like we're doing like Roman monetary coins, basically. So kind of like your own interpretation or spin on what like Roman money would look like back in the 1200s or
so like those
whatever.
fat ducats.
Yeah, just kind of whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
mad ducats.
Fat ducats. Word.
Matt has nothing to say about ducats. I'm over here dropping literary shit, and he's just silent.
I mean, you do it all the time. It's like your favorite thing to drop. You're like, I read a book once. It had many pictures in large words, like ducats.
Yeah, like ducats. Where art thou, ducats? And then the other thing is,
ducats.
Alan, probably last question tonight, bro. Alan's getting in here. Is a galvanometer head supposed to twist left and right? All the bolts are tightened, but it still moves. Dang, I'm afraid to touch it and throw everything out of alignment. I'll check. You answered in chat, Anthony. I see that. A lot of them, like I've found, are held on by like friction collars rather than like being bolted in to something. That they're like squeezed, I guess, is like at the neck. And in that situation, there's not only the 2 or 1, depending, like tightness of the collar bolts, but there's also a lot of the time like a grub screw to lock it. So like after you get the collar nice and tight, if the grub screw isn't tightened all the way down, then it'll still move. Like you can still turn it. And a lot of times, even if you force it, the grub screw will just wear down and you can just move the thing around.
If it doesn't have good purchase on it.
Absolutely.
It'll just push past it.
Definitely like don't fuck with it too much. Just kind of like, if you have that style, is kind of my advice, because the more you touch it, the worse it's going to get. But also like, just, I don't know, like that's how my CO2 Galvo is. And sometimes when I feel like it's being finicky, I'll just like loosen all of it and like make sure that it's got really good contact, get it aligned where I want it, and then tighten everything down, and then tighten the grub screw down. Also, if your grub screw is worn down or not locking very well, you can get like a whole big giant ass box of like a billion different sized grub screws, which is one of the best things I ever bought off Amazon.
Pro tip,
like
they're all
$5.
metric. Get metric ones, don't get standard ones.
Yeah, don't get standard anything for your laser. It's never going to fit. Everything's done in metric. But yeah, the grub screws, man. So just a couple things I wanted to throw out there to keep an eye on. If you don't have the solid like bolts into the laser path one, so a lot of them will just have 4 bolts where you just take the head and you hold it up to the laser path and you bolt it in and you're done. Those will have a little play when they're not tightened down all the way, but once they're tightened down, they're not going anywhere. So if you have the collar style, check that out, because that could lead to more issues. And that's, I think, gonna wrap us up for today, unless anybody else has a last second thing they want to throw in.
That was a nice one to squeeze in right at the end. That's very cool.
And this has been Just the Tip.
Just the Tip with Matt Bodiford.
One more reason to like that I'm not on camera too is like wearing a mask when you're doing these kinds of metal things, and just to like, I'm like pulling it down to talk to you guys, but just to show you, like when you move this thing away, you can see all the dust from the brass that's been being pulled in there, and it's very, very fine. So that's the kind of stuff that gets all up in the air, and
you can see it statically charging to the bed too there.
Oh yeah, and so
I want all of that just permanently stuck in my alveoli forever.
Yeah. So look at this guy. Like, he looked that up. You can literally see it in the back of his reflection of his glasses.
I still have it. Looks like blush, like makeup on one of my Z tables from when I did that bronze plate, because it just, I had my vent right there sucking up as much air as it could, but it's still, just a little bit of residue kind of everywhere.
And when you're doing like 100 of these, like, you got to be just as good as you can be, you know? So that's why I've been
to clean that up too.
Just made dirty jokes when I could.
Get after that heavy metal poisoning.
Oh yeah.
When I clean that shit up, just to make sure I'm not inhaling any of it, is I'll leave the exhaust on, and I'll use the exhaust in front of a damp cloth, like a paper towel that I'm going to throw away. And that way, anything that's stuck on well enough with static will come up with the paper towel, and anything that's wiping up or flinging around into the air by touching it is getting sucked up by the exhaust.
My pro tip for not inhaling any of it is wear a 3M mask while you're engraving. All right, that's all we got, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Laser Source podcast. If you're alive, we appreciate you being here. If you weren't, thanks for listening anyway. We will have a brand new episode for you guys next Tuesday, 9:00 p.m. EST. And if you guys got value out of this one, don't forget to smash the like button. Let everybody else know the content is good. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified the next time we go live. I didn't post about this episode anywhere today. People here right now are diehard fans. So if you want to catch this one live, turn on that bell notification, because that's why the people that are here right now are literally here. Look at Matt being the smart boy wearing his 3M. It's because they got notified when we went live. So if you want to be one of those people, make sure you hit the little bell icon so you get notified when you go live too. If you guys really, really love the channel and you want to help support it, please head over to Laser Master Academy. It's masters.lasereverything.net. We've got a ton of great resources over there. We're in there constantly answering questions. Community's always helping each other out. It's a great place to be. If you care less about support, but you want to support us anyway, something a little more standard for you might be our Patreon, which has taken off lately. We're like $370 a month on the Patreon, which is pretty wild considering like 2 months ago we were at like $45 a month or something like that. People.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild. So
$42.
Yeah, the Patreon's kind of popping a little bit, which is dope. And if you want to find out more about that or any of the other ways you can support us, there are a ton, and they're all vital to us continuing to do this. You can find out about all of your options over at lasereverything.net/support. One more shout out to Johnson Plastics Plus. Thank you guys for sponsoring the show. We appreciate you. And I think that's all I've got. So until the next one, guys, take care. Happy lasering. And we will see you in the next one.
Thanks for the support, guys. And you all have a good night.
See you.